Edmonton Oilers 4, Florida Panthers 2. Welcome back to the day after reaction. After the Oilers have actually won a matinee. Cam, how are we feeling?
Feeling good. That
Yeah.
was, if you're looking at the schedule and you're kind of aware of how these matinee games have gone for the Oilers this year, last year, I mean, pretty much for all time, the Oilers have a very hard time playing in the afternoon. We know that. If you saw the Florida game on the schedule, especially given the way the Carolina game went before that, you'd be thinking, but they
Yeah.
came through and pulled out a win.
No, 100% a 4-2 win. And they also beat Florida last year, I remember as well, where Derek Ryan got a hat trick.
Correct.
But all the attention this time was around the man, Stuart Skinner.
Yeah, that was the key for the Oilers. I mean, the Carolina game was highlighted by Jack Campbell allowing 7 goals. It was a really frustrating and unfortunate game for Campbell, but then Stuart Skinner comes out and stops 40 of 42 shots, all told. The highlight there, of course, was in the first period, the Panthers exploded for 19 shots. There was one point where they were leading the Oilers in shots like 10,
Yeah.
11, nothing. And I mean, to be fair to the Oilers, the Panthers are a high volume shooting team. So they're taking a lot of, wrist shots from outside. So it's not like they were completely dominant and getting a million grade A chances. But Skinner was really solid in net and gave the Oilers a chance to kind of find their legs because if, Skinner had a difficult performance and allowed some softies in the first period, there's a pretty good chance the win just gets completely taken out of the Oilers' sails and, they wind up doing the same thing in that matinee game that they did in that Dallas game a week ago, where it just the wheels completely fall off. So kudos to Skinner for a huge start. I think after this performance, given the way things went against the Hurricanes for Campbell and how Skinner's looked so far, it's pretty clearly Stuart Skinner's net for the time being.
As it should be, I feel, considering the way he's played compared to Campbell. I think it just makes sense, right? You also mentioned to me prior to recording that Oilers are 2-2 on this road trip. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I think when you looked at this road trip on paper, you thought this is probably the hardest trip the team's going to have all season. Their longest road trip in total this season is 4 games. They do it a few times, but this road trip featured them going up against 4 different playoff teams: Washington, Tampa, right off the hop in back-to-backs, and then Carolina and Florida, 2 other top teams from last year, 2 other legitimate Stanley Cup contenders. And I mean, you look at that schedule, and they started off with the loss in Washington, bounced back with a gutsy win against Tampa. Jack Campbell was really good in that game, but then struggled against Carolina. They bounced back again after that frustrating Carolina loss, pick up a win against Florida, and now they're 9-7 on the season. It's not fantastic, but you'd obviously rather come back home 9-7 as opposed to 8-8 on the season, because now right up ahead you have 2 key 4-point games against Pacific Division opponents. They're going to face the LA Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights for the first time this week. So the Oilers really need to kind of find their game here. But it's definitely it was a positive way to end the road trip, because there were times that it looked like, oh geez, this could get really ugly. This could be a 0-win trip. But kudos to them for pulling out 2 wins. That's a pretty good showing.
Mm-hmm. How about we get to your 3 takeaways? What was your first takeaway against the win against Florida?
Well, my first big takeaway, of course, is the Skinner thing, which is that Jack Campbell struggled, and they have a nice opportunity here to let Campbell kind of hit the reset button, take his time, work out his kinks in practice, figure it out. Skinner's hot right now, and it's probably ideal to ride that. I mean, you don't want to have Jack Campbell sitting on the bench for a month and he's stewing on that terrible performance against the Hurricanes. But what you have this week is they don't play again until Wednesday. That's against the Kings. And then they don't play again after that until Saturday. That's against Vegas. So you can realistically pencil Skinner in for those 2 starts. And then Campbell doesn't play until the following Monday against New Jersey. That gives him like a full week off to kind of just hit the reset button and figure it out. And I think that's probably the right move. I mean, the reality with this goalie tandem, Skinner and Campbell, is it's probably the best move to just ride the hot hand at all times. I mean, Campbell's not going to be cold like this all season. Stuart Skinner's not going to have like a 940 save percentage all season. So when Skinner's good, ride it. When Campbell gets better, ride it as well. That's probably just going to be the move for the entire season.
Mm-hmm. Takeaway number 2.
Takeaway number 2 for me is Warren Foegele played, I think, his best game as a member of the Edmonton
Yeah,
Oilers.
he's had a few good games here too.
Yeah, he's really stepped up his play recently, because he was one guy that, I mean, was just a lightning rod for criticism. The Oilers have the 3 players with the around $3 million cap hits. None of them were scoring goals early in the season, but then Evander Kane, of course, goes down with the injury. He's going to be out for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So the Oilers need one of those guys internally to step up. And right now it's Warren Fogle. He was skating really well. He was throwing hits. He was physical. He was engaged in the play. And that showing resulted in the third period and him getting bumped up to the Leon Draisaitl line. And then he's the key contributor in the goal that puts them up 3-1. He strips Alex Barkov of all guys of the puck. I mean, Barkov's a good player. He doesn't turn
Yeah.
over the puck in his zone very often. Warren Fogle forces that giveaway. Draisaitl drops in the puck and he wires a shot past Spencer Knight. It was a real goal scorer's goal. Wasn't just some lucky flub that he hits off a rebound or a deflection. It was a legit power forward goal scorer's goal. So the Oilers need that from these guys. Evander Kane's not going to be back for a while, and he's not an easy player to replace.
And
so
also no Kyle Yamamoto right now either.
exactly. So the Oilers need these guys to step up, and right now Fogel's doing that.
And takeaway number 3.
The takeaway number 3 was just the original point that this was a super difficult road trip, and coming out of it 2-2 is honestly a pretty big win. I mean, I think we'd like to see the Oilers have better than a 9-7 record thus far, but I mean, given the way they've kind of looked in the first month, a little discombobulated, they haven't really figured out who's fitting into what roles yet, and they definitely haven't hit their stride just yet. But the fact that they're above water, given all those struggles, I think is a positive.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now coming up, you have Vegas and LA, who are top 2 teams right now in the Pacific Division. Vegas having the same amount of goals as the Edmonton Oilers, sitting at goal score 59. The only difference is that Edmonton's led in 58. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens between those 2 teams. And it's interesting contrast because it was such a jam-packed schedule on the road. And next week, there's only 2 games for the Oilers, thankfully. So a lot of time to rest, practice, and get things ready for these 2 big games. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think the rest will be good for the Oilers, but these are 2 really big tests
Yeah.
against LA and Vegas. I mean, these are 4-point games already in November. I mean, we can sit here and be like, it's early, but all these points matter. You only play your divisional teams so many times, usually 4 times a year or 3, depending on who it is. So you only get so many matchups against these teams, and you don't want the Golden Knights. Right now, they're running away with the Pacific Division. So you look at that matchup and you're like, geez, we got to win this 4-point head-to-head here. I mean, it's only mid-November, and it's like you want to still be within reaching distance of the Golden Knights in the standings.
Yeah. You also got Seattle right in front of you, so
it's true that Seattle Kraken inexplicably are off to a hot start. So when these division games come knocking, man, the Oilers have to step up and win.
So thank you for everyone tuning into the day after action with Cam and I, and we'll see you next time after the 19th, whoever's in Cam's seat. But don't forget to head to OilersNation.com for more, and like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Take care.